Grand Rising. Let's wait for everyone to come in while I shuffle these tarot cards. Good morning, everybody. We're going live on Instagram, and then we're gonna be recording this for YouTube, and it's gonna be posted to YouTube later on. Good morning. How are you? What's up? Let's wait for more people to come on. Gotta wait for people to get the notification. We are going to be talking about the astrology of the week. Oh, we got a card that came out. I'm gonna pull some cards to kind of tap into the energy of the week. Ooh, the King of Wands. I love that card. Coming out for the week. Appropriate. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Happy full moon in Leo. We're still in our full moon in Leo energy. I think the moon is still in Leo as of today, actually. Let me take a look at Z. I didn't look at the astrology. See where the planets are at. Feeling tired today. Yeah, full moon hangover, typical. We tend to feel a little sleepy, or a little drained, energetically exhausted when we are in a full moon energy. Good morning from New Zealand. Hello. All right, cool. We've got quite a few people in here already. Let me go ahead and wave at everybody. All right. So really interesting week in astrology that we got. Quite a few things happening this week. Uranus does go direct. Is this the week that Saturn goes into Aries? I don't believe so. I think this is the week of Saturn being at 29 degrees Pisces. Let's see here. Uranus direct. We have Mercury going to Pisces. We're going to have a lot of energy moving into Pisces. Looks like. Well, just Mercury, actually. Yeah, Uranus direct, Mercury going into Pisces. We're moving through our full moon and Leo cycle this week. So we'll talk about that. Good morning. Welcome. Someone said, that's next week, and I cannot wait. Hello. All right. I pulled some cards for the week. Well, I'm pulling some cards for the week just to kind of see what the energy's at. For the week. Let's take a look. I'm gonna pull a few more cards, and then we're gonna dive into the astrology. Okay. Buenos dias. Good morning. Hope everyone had a beautiful, bountiful, pleasant weekend. Hope it wasn't too rough for you, the full moon. Probably had insomnia like me because I had insomnia over the last couple days. But I slept really well last night actually, so I went to bed nice and early. I was watching Bridgerton last night and it put me in such like a good mood and in like a soft, sentimental mood. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about Bridgerton today because I realized why we, especially like why we're so why we like Bridgerton so much or why so many of us get emotional over it. And I realized why. I was like deeply thinking about it last night. I was watching Bridgerton and I was like, "Oh, I know what it is. I realized why. I realized what it is about Bridgerton that all of us are just like, you know, like, and I'll talk about that a little bit because I think it has a lot to do with relationships and has a lot to do with where men are at right now. And it has a lot to do with this idea that men can redeem themselves, right? Or this idea that men are romantic and loving. And it's so interesting because, you know, the story arc, right, in Bridgerton, for those of you that have not watched it, is about these men that come from a family. Well, it's like it's brothers and sisters, but they all come from a family and they're all getting like married off, right? Mom wants to marry them all off or find them all a partner. But it's so interesting because what I realized about the men in Bridgerton, about the brothers, is that they all kind of go through a reformation. They all go through they have like a redemption arc where they're kind of like a menace, they are, a rake. They're going around, sleeping around, messing around, doing whatever, right? And they have these egos and they have this pride and whatever. But then they meet these women that kind of like humble them. And these men, they kind of like wake up and, they reform. They become the better version of themselves and they evolve into these like perfect husbands. right? And it may be a little fantastical, it may be a little bit of a delusion. Like, is that realistic, you know? And I was even thinking about that with this current brother. What's his name? Benedict? Like, I was thinking about this man, and I was thinking about the archetypes of the signs as well, and how the archetypes of the signs are showing up at each season. So last season it was Penelope, right? And Penelope is a writer. So she ended up, spoiler alert for those of you that haven't watched it, but she ended up actually being Lady Whistledown. She was the one that's kind of she does this, like, you know, she writes this column, this gossip column that's talking about the ton and talk about the gossip and whatever, and it becomes like a big deal. But she's like Gemini, right? She's like the writer. And then the other guy, what's his name? The other brother from last season, he's like Sagittarius. So he goes to school, he goes to college, he goes to travel the world, and then he like comes back and he's all like woke and handsome and mature and, you know, and he loves to ride horses and all these things. Very Sagittarius. So it's so interesting to think about how, you know, Gemini Sagittarius archetype from last season. This season's archetype is the maid and like the drunk slash the painter slash the artist slash the guy that had, yeah, Colin. Colin was from last season. Yeah, Colin and Penelope. So Colin was the archetype of Sag. Where this season, it's Pisces and Virgo. So Virgo is the what? The servant, the maid. Virgo is the sign of the help, right? But also the maiden, like the perfectionist beauty, right? And it's so funny because Sophie is such a Virgo. She's like over here cleaning and everything's got to be organized. And she's kind of like uptight in a way, right? There's these moments where she takes risks, but it's really like a Cinderella story. That's what I realized. I was like, oh, this season of Bridgerton is pretty much Cinderella. And just like Cinderella lost her slipper, and then the prince is going throughout the kingdom to find the slipper, it's the same thing in this season, right? He's she lost her whatchamacallit, her glove. And so all he has is her glove, and he didn't get her name or anything, right? After the masquerade ball. And he's like looking for her in the kingdom. He's looking for this mysterious woman that like disappeared, right? But it ends up being a maid, right? And that's Virgo, but he's the archetype of Pisces. So, you know, Pisces is a lot to do with the painter. Pisces is also the alcoholic or the escape artist. You know, the lover of many. It's very much a Pisces thing. Having many lovers or unconditional love, spreading love everywhere, right? It's a very Pisces thing. I also think it's really interesting how they're exploring the, you know, the idea of like bisexuality and stuff like that in the series because he's also, you know, he goes both ways, which I think is super interesting. I'm really interested to see how that like kind of plays into the next four episodes, you know. But anyways, let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. Enough about Bridgerton. We'll talk more about that if we get there, if today happens to go that direction. So I pulled some cards for the week. I've got two already, and I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to pull one more. I like to pull cards in like 3, 6, 9. So I like to pull 3 cards, 6 cards, 9 cards. That's like what you want to do tarot readings. That's how I do it. So let's see. We're gonna pull one more card. Oh, the sun. So funny how we are in a full moon in Leo. We just had our full moon in Leo yesterday, right? And look at the two of the cards that I got. I got the King of Wands, which is a Leo card. He literally has a lion. If you take a look at he has a lion on the back of his chair right there. And I got the Sun card, which are both Leo cards. And in the middle of the deck, in the middle of the spread, I got the Ace of Swords. So this week has a lot to do with our identity and with confidence and with self-expression and with also communicating our truths and being very honest or having a lot of integrity around communication. So with the Ace of Swords and the Sun card coming out, to me, this is giving me people kind of really opening up and being vulnerable and really expressing their truths this week or needing to have conversations where they get clarity about things. I think clarity around decision making is going to be a big theme this week with the Sun card and the Ace of Swords. The Sun card is about illumination and about realization. The Sun card is about epiphany. The Sun card is also about celebration or recognition, or even like something really good happening, something really joyous happening, right? So I think with the Sun card and the Ace of Swords coming out this week, to me, this is giving me clear decisions that people make that are going to bring them like joy or like good news coming in where they're going to be something to celebrate, okay? The King of Wands coming out here, this has a lot to do with standing your personal authority and standing in your personal power. And this is the energy of the full moon in Leo this week. And this is also the energy of the sun in general. No one tells the sun what to do. No one tells the King of Wands what to do. The King of Wands, he makes his own choices and he makes his own decisions and he is the ultimate authority, right? If you think of the King of Wands being like, the Lion King, right? Like no one's going to tell the Lion King what to do, right? He is the ultimate authority. He makes the final choices, makes the final decisions and things like this. So what Spirit is really saying this week is we need to kind of really stand in our confidence and our power. We need to stand in our light this week. We need to really show up and show out and be present. You know what they say? 80%, 90% of life is just showing up and being there, right? And this is also about, it's interesting, I'm getting a message around visibility. So this could be about you've been hiding, keeping something in hiding, keeping something private. Maybe you have been holding on to something that you want to share with others or share with a loved one or share with the world. Like let's say you've been cultivating a talent, you've been working on a skill, you've been working on a book, you've been working on a piece of music, an album, you've been working on something and you're very hesitant about sharing this with the world or sharing this with someone else or sharing this with those that you love. The message here is to develop the confidence to share your creativity, to share your passions, to share your identity, to share yourself with the world so that you could be seen, you could be celebrated, and you could be supported. This is very much a full moon in Leo message being echoed today by the tarot, and which is the full moon was just yesterday, and this is something that we were talking about yesterday with the full moon in Leo. This need to kind of do this inner child healing around our identity and around our sense of performance and around this deep need to be seen and recognized. Every human being has this. Every human being wants to be seen, wants to be celebrated, wants to be recognized, wants to feel in some ways that they're important, that they matter, right? That their life is influential, that their life matters to others especially. And the main way that we really tap into that energy or that we can like get into alignment with that is by really being confident and we're sharing ourselves with the world and participating in society, participating in our friend groups, going, meeting people, integrating with society is very important. This is a big important message that's coming through. And I think this has a lot to do with the fact that, even though we have this full moon in Leo, there's this whole Aquarius stellium. And Aquarius is the sign of the community, right? All the air signs are about connection and community. And Aquarius is about the community at large, but Aquarius because Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, it's also about the more difficult or hard things that we deal with when it comes to community. So, Aquarius, this is about being outcasted or ostracized. This is about being the weird one, being the one that kind of stands out, right? Being the one that resists fitting in, that doesn't want to acquiesce, that doesn't want to follow the leader, right? Aquarius is the revolutionary, Aquarius is the rebel, Aquarius is the outcast. These are all archetypes of Aquarius. But also, Aquarius is the community leader and the community builder, right? Aquarius is the one weirdo that gets all the other weirdos together to be all so they think all be weird together, right? So if we think about, like a group of like, a group of nerdy friends or whatever, just archetypally, that's very much about an Aquarius thing. But anything where you shared common interest, common passion, common identity, you know, common culture with people, that is Aquarian energy. That creates community. That is like, your community around shared identity, around shared passions, whatever. And these are things that we need to be participating in, right? We are moving into this age of Aquarius energy. We're going to have Uranus and Gemini. We already have Pluto in Aquarius. Uranus goes direct in Taurus. He's going to be wrapping up his transit in Taurus over the next couple months. And then he's moving into Gemini for the next 7 years. So we're going to have Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus and Gemini. And this activation of Gemini and Aquarius is really about connection. It's about community. It's also about the sharing of information and like learning and social exchange and things like this, exchange of ideas and stuff. But, we really want to lean into this idea that, if we want to be celebrated and seen and supported, if we even want to be successful, entrepreneurial, whatever, right? We need to invest in our friends. We need to invest in, our acquaintances. We need to invest in social spaces and social connection. It's very, very important because that's where a lot of the reward is going to come from. That's where a lot of the opportunity is going to be coming from in the future for a lot of people. That's where a lot of the growth is going to come from. It's going to come from someone that you know, right? So we really need to make ourselves available to others. And the more that we participate in community, the more that we get celebrated by the communities that we participate in, right? So it's important to really lean into that. But I do think, what the tarot is saying for this week, Sun card, Ace of Swords, King of Wands. Celebrate yourself, you know? Connect to your inner child, create, explore, have fun, let loose sometimes. Stand in your confidence, stand in your power, right? Stand in your personal authority. And be honest with yourself, be honest with others. Like, really show your true colors, show what is genuine about you, show what is authentic about you. Don't hide behind anything, don't hide behind any masks, don't, avoid, truth. Don't think that someone's not going to like you because X, Y, and Z. Like, really show up as yourself and be yourself. I think it's a really important message for this week, okay? Especially as we're going through a full moon in Leo cycle, right? Full moon in Leo really wants us to, you know, what really wants us to be sure about who we are, really wants us to be confident in the way that we show up in all spaces, especially our social spaces, right? Who you are, right? Who you are, you can, like, when you're alone, you can be like, oh, I'm the baddest, whatever, whatever. I'm the boss and I'm confident, whatever, whatever. But who you actually are gets tested and gets revealed when you are in connection. Okay. So it's like you can say you're X, Y, and Z and you can, whatever, but it's when you are in relationship with others that your true identity, that your true self gets revealed, right? And I think it's really important for us to really take notice of how we possibly change ourselves, how we censor ourselves, how we shrink ourselves, minimize ourselves when we're around certain people. And we need to not be doing those things. So it's like, oh, when you're around that certain family member, you all of a sudden you are all anxious and you're quiet and you don't say anything. Oh, when that certain coworker is in your work environment, all of a sudden you become passive and you become submissive and you become avoidant and all of a sudden, right? No, no to all of that. We are not going to modify ourselves. We're not going to censor ourselves. We're not going to diminish ourselves just because our light, because our joy, because our confidence, because our creativity, right, intimidates others, challenges others, makes others feel insecure or less than, right? No, we're not going to do that. So it's important that you show up with your full self in every space that you move into. It's very, very important. No more self-censorship. No more hiding, okay? No more minimizing yourself. No more diminishing your light in order to make others comfortable, in order to keep the peace, in order to make others feel safe. We're not doing that no more. We're done with that. That's the old us, okay? We're not doing that no more. So this full moon in Leo really wants you to challenge sometimes. Your identity, who you are, is going to challenge others sometimes, and it's supposed to. Okay? Your light is supposed to illuminate other people's shadows. That's what's supposed to happen. When you are standing in your light, guess what? It's going to trigger other people's demons. It's what's supposed to happen. Okay? When you are a light bearer, a light bringer like myself, when you are a truth sharer, when you are an illuminator, when you are a spiritual person, when you are walking with the love of God in your heart, you know what? You are going to trigger people's hatred. You're going to trigger people's jealousy. You're going to trigger people's envy. You're going to trigger people's insecurities. You're going to trigger people's self-doubt. And the first thing that they're going to do, you know what they're going to do? They're going to attack you. They're going to blame you for it. They're going to project it on you. This is why King of Wands, Sun card, you got to know yourself so well and so deeply. And you got to really stand in your light because there's going to be people that are going to tell you, oh, you know what? You're prideful. You're arrogant. Nah, bitch, I'm confident and I'm successful and I enjoy what I do and I believe in what I do. So this is not pride or ego that you're picking up, bitch. This is jealousy and envy that I'm picking up from you. Okay? So go back to being small. All right? Move. Get out my way. I'm shining. Okay? I'm busy. I'm busy being the sun. Right? Like it's really about understanding this energy, my loves. It's really important. It's really important. And many of us, right? And you also got to think about this. We have identities that many of us are that are expected to behave a certain way. Let me tell you what I mean by this. You are a woman, so you're expected to behave like X, Y, and Z, right? You're an employee, so you're expected to behave like X, Y, and Z. Oh, you're a daughter, so you're expected to behave like X, Y, and Z. But you know what happens with a lot of these roles that we play? They diminish who we are. They diminish our value. And we have to shrink ourselves to fit into these roles. Oh, I gotta be this humble child. Oh, I gotta be this grateful employee. We gotta shrink ourselves to fit into these roles that are not even natural or aligned with our soul and our spirit. They're not even giving us space to fully be ourselves. We have to shrink ourselves to fit into these rigid little roles that many of us don't even want to play. So I really think it's important this week we take a look at the roles that we're playing. We take a look at the identities that we not only have taken upon us, but that also we carry, the identities we carry, right? And we resist the temptation of smallness, of shrinking, of diminishing ourselves in order to be accepted, in order to be keep the peace, right? In order to be the good daughter, the good employee, whatever. No, 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 no. Okay, we're not doing that no more, my loves. Okay, so we're entering the age of Aquarius. This is about rebellion. This is about authenticity. This is about autonomy. This is about personal freedom. And more than anything, Aquarius is about equality. Equality. We are all one and the same. We are all equal under the eyes of God. Okay. No one's more than or no one is less than. This is the truth. And then when it comes to spirit, when it comes to the divine, when you read all the holy texts, no matter which one you're reading, no matter if it's Jesus or the Buddha, they're all going to tell you the same thing. We are all equal. All of us are the same. Okay? No one is less than, no one is better than. These are all hierarchical things that we come up with in our own head to keep society organized and structured, right? So I just want to share this message with you guys because it's a full moon and Leo message. If you didn't watch the full moon and Leo live yesterday, it was really long. It was 3 hours long, unfortunately. But the last 2 hours of the full moon and Leo live I actually did kind of like a little mini read for the full moon in Leo for all the signs based on the rising. So I don't have timestamps on it. Maybe today, if my Mars and Libra doesn't kick in, I might go and put some timestamps on YouTube. So if you guys wanted to go watch, the little insight that I gave on the full moon in Leo based on your rising, you can. Okay. All right, let's talk about the astrology of the week. Enough with the tarot. So, like I was saying them in the beginning. We have two things happening this week that are kind of important, that are really going to define the astrology of the week. The first is Uranus going direct. And I want to talk about this because Uranus has been in the sign of Taurus since, I believe, let's see, 2026, 2019. Let me just double check. Let me make sure before I can't just be saying things like that without verifying my claim. Hold on. I think Uranus has been in Taurus since 2019. Yes. Yeah, Uranus went to Taurus because Uranus takes about 7 years to go through a sign. So Uranus has been in Taurus for the last 7 years, okay? And he has brought a lot of radical, unstable change to Taurus things. Our food, okay? We've seen a lot of changes, a lot of advancement, technological advancement, specifically around food. Now we have like lab grown proteins. Like you can be eating a slab of steak that was literally grown in a lab. We've also seen a lot of change Taurus with the banking system with money. So with Uranus and Taurus, we've seen the advancement of cryptocurrency. And we've also seen more digital finances, digital money. We've also been seeing, in combination with Uranus and Taurus and the South Node of Virgo, a big change in work culture and job culture, right? On a personal level, Uranus and Taurus has been bringing a lot of instability and a lot of change for fixed signs. So Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio. Uranus and Taurus has been, since 2019, has brought radical, sudden shifts and changes for them in a lot of ways. It's shown up as relationship in the relationship realm, leaving a relationship, meeting someone suddenly, falling in love with someone that's been different, that was or being in a relationship that's different than what they've been in before, or being in a relationship that's kind of like unique or something like this. Um, and then the other thing has been in the way that fixed signs have like made money, like the way their career direction and stuff like that. A lot of them have shifted and made a radical change around money and career. And this is so true for me. So for me, I was in banking, and then from 2019 to 2020, that's when I got let go from my banking job. I took a year off where I wasn't working and I was studying astrology and tarot. And then by 2020, I was an astrologer and a tarot reader pretty much. And I had like started my business in 2020. So Uranus ingress into Taurus because I have an early degree sun in Scorpio. Uranus opposed my sun Mercury. In those few years, 2019, 2020, 2021, were about radical shift and change for me. I like totally changed my life. I did a total makeover in my life, right? And I saw it very, very readily. It was very, very, it was a very intense experience. So the fixed signs, right? Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius. Uranus and Taurus is the this last of Uranus and Taurus, especially with Uranus and Taurus going direct today, is going to be the last of what Uranus is trying to do in the life of fixed signs specifically. So if Uranus has been trying to free you from something, if Uranus has been trying to get you to make a dramatic change, has been trying to create some kind of upheaval or some kind of dramatic shift in your life, it's quite possibly that with Uranus going direct this week, Uranus finishing up his transit in Taurus, fixed signs, you guys are this is the last of like Uranus's work, right, in your life. So, fixed signs, Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo, what we may see with this week let me actually take a look at when Uranus goes into Aries because I want to give you guys a time frame around this. So hold on, give me a second. Around February. Okay, right here. So let me see when Uranus goes into Gemini. I mean, when he leaves Taurus and goes into Gemini. Let's see. I'm looking at March. He's moving. Uranus moves really slow. Okay, I'm looking at April. I'm in April now. Okay, I'm looking at the end of April. Hold on. I want to get you guys the exact date. Okay, yeah, April 26th. So Uranus goes direct tomorrow on the 3rd. Okay, Uranus goes direct tomorrow on February 3rd. So from February 3rd to April 26th, okay, February, March, April, it's pretty much like 3 months. It's like 2 months and 3 weeks, okay? Uranus is wrapping up his work as he's transiting the sign of Taurus. Okay, Uranus is wrapping up his work as he's transiting the sign of Taurus. And he's wrapping up his work in the lives of fixed signs specifically. Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Leo. So if you are someone and you have a lot of fixed in your chart, especially if it's at the last degrees of a fixed sign, if you have anything around, 26 to 29 degrees of a fixed sign, Uranus may get you to move, right? From now until April 26th, or from tomorrow when he goes direct until April 26th. He may create some kind of upheaval in your life, some kind of radical shift. He can also bring a radical new opportunity, something really beautiful or something really magical for you. Especially with the new moon in Aquarius that we're going to be having in 2 weeks. Because in 2 weeks, the new moon in Aquarius, that's going to be at the last degrees of Aquarius, is going to be squaring Uranus and Taurus, who just went direct. And I actually believe that that square is going to be like exact. I think the new moon's at 28 or 27 and Uranus is at 27. So this kind of feels like sudden opening of doors or fixed signs emancipating themselves from something and deciding that they want to shift and go in a new direction. Oh, someone said it's also an eclipse. Yes, that is going to be a solar eclipse in Aquarius. Yes, that new moon is going to be a solar. It's going to be a solar eclipse in Aquarius. Well, we still have the North Node in Pisces, but because it's on the North Node side of the eclipse of the nodes, right? So because this eclipse is on the North Node side, so the eclipse is being triggered by the North Node in Pisces, or it's going to be really close to the North Node in Pisces, right? The reason why we get eclipses is because we get lunar events next to the nodes. So whenever there's a new moon or a full moon within 18 degrees of the north node or the south node, we're going to get an eclipse. Okay. And so this eclipse next to the north node in Pisces is really going to be about pushing us forward. It's really going to be about, new directions, new opportunities, new things coming in. The new moon in Aquarius solar eclipse that we're going to be having. Okay. And that's going to be 2 weeks from now. Let me give you guys that date as well. I should know this, but me and my Mercury, me and my Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. Okay, right here. Oh, there we go. 28 degrees. It might even be 29. Let me see. Hold on. I gotta go by hours here. It's gonna be on February 16th. It's at 29 degrees. Yeah, it's a 29-degree eclipse. 29. Are you out of your mind? Oh no, 28. It's 28 degrees. It's a Cancer degree. But so it's going to be squaring Uranus, hard squaring Uranus. Yeah. So we're also going to have Venus and the North Node together in Pisces. Ah, I love this. To me, this is giving divine union, divine love, North Node Venus during the new moon. And this is an eclipse, a solar eclipse. So I'm really excited for this. Eclipse energy is not typically exciting. Saturn has also gone into Aries, so he's at 0 degrees Aries. We're going to be seeing a lot of big changes with people. A lot of people wanting to do something different and go in a new direction during this eclipse season. It's going to be like a really strong theme. People are going to feel called to like make a big move or make a big change in their life in some type of way. Many, many people, especially fixed signs and cardinal in mutable signs. And we also got to think Saturn's moving into Aries, right? Saturn is starting a new cycle, a new 29.5-year cycle around the astrological wheel. So it's Saturn moving into Aries. We are ruling over the new moon in Aquarius, the solar eclipse in Aquarius that we're going to have. Um, it's like a new chapter is beginning for a lot of people. Setting new foundations, making new long-term commitments, engagements, promises to people, stuff like this. But making like big foundational changes that more than likely other people are not going to be happy for or excited about, especially people that have been in your life for a long time or people that want you to keep things the same. Okay. So if there's people that have been certain attached to a certain version of you, or if there's people that have certain desires for you, like they want something else than what you want for yourself, we're probably gonna have to make those people upset or let those people down, okay? And just get ready for that, okay? I'm gonna tell you guys right now, with a lot of changes that people are gonna be making this year, in the year of the horse, and in one year with Saturn and Aries, it's going to bring a lot of conflict and people are not going to agree with you, but you just got to do your fucking thing. Okay. You got to trust yourself. You got to believe in yourself. You got to listen to your heart. You know, don't listen to the guidance and the advice of others unless it's me. No, no, but don't listen to the guidance and advice of others, especially if it goes against what you want for yourself. Like if it doesn't, if someone gives you advice or guidance, right? And you in your heart, you're like, oh, or in your body, you feel this like rejection to it, you feel this annoyance, you feel this irritation, listen to that. Because that's your body telling you, nope, that's not the truth. Nope, that's not in alignment. Nope, that's not me. That's not what I want. Right? You got to listen to that. I've really had to cultivate this discernment, this personal discernment for myself because I have the North Node in Jupiter and Aries. So I'm literally here to learn how to be independent and I'm here to learn how to be like a pioneer and like do things by myself. And this is why I've been single for so long. It's been a kind of like a choice. It's also been a karmic thing, but it's been a choice. But it's my North Node Jupiter and Aries that really pushes me towards that autonomy and that independence. And that's something that I'm here to learn as a soul in this lifetime, right? But many of us are going to be learning this. All of us collectively going to be learning about power and autonomy and about independence because what two planets are going, how one has gone into Aries already, what in the next one is going into Aries is Saturn, right? Neptune and Saturn are in Aries or will be in Aries by the end of this month. Neptune's already in Aries, but we're going to have a Saturn Neptune conjunction in Aries, 0 degrees Aries. So we're all going to be learning about Aries things and Aries energy. We're going to be learning about conflict. We're going to be learning about war. We're going to be uh, learning about our anger and how to channel our anger in responsible ways, how to fight for things that are important, that matter to us, especially fighting for things around like ideals, right? Neptune is the planet of idealism, right? The vision, the dream, like the utopia, the utopian vision is Neptune. And so with Neptune and Aries, we're going to see society, many of us are going to be fighting for our version of reality, fighting for the future that we want to build, right? For the future that we see for ourselves, for our children, and things like this. So I really want you guys to get comfortable with this Aries energy this year. I think we really need to lean into the energy of Aries. And Aries energy is not easy. I'm going to tell you this right now. It's not because Aries has a lot to do with war, it has a lot to do with fighting, it has a lot to do with passion, it has a lot to do with conflict. And we don't, and the Mars signs, right? Scorpio and Aries are difficult. The Mars is not an easy planet. Mars is a rough planet, okay? And Mars is considered one of the malefic planets, right? So Aries and Scorpio, they are signs that get a bad rap because they're ruled by Mars. And so when we are talking about Aries energy, especially with Saturn, Neptune going into Aries, Saturn being fallen in the sign of Aries. So Saturn doesn't do well in Aries because Saturn and Mars are enemies, right? Mars is really hot, Aries is really hot, or Saturn is really cold, right? So when you put Saturn in Aries, you get Saturn in his fallen state. So Saturn is already a mean planet. He's already a destructive, mean planet, right? He could be cold, but he's not mean in an angry way, the way Mars is. He's mean in like a cold, controlling, abusive, psychologically, emotionally abusive way. That's more of like a Saturn thing. But when you put Saturn in Aries, you get a very pissed off, angry, physically abusive Saturn. You get a Saturn that does not mind taking people out, right? So who's angry? You get an enraged Saturn with Saturn in Aries. That's why he's fallen in there. And so, we're going to be seeing a lot of leaders with Saturn in Aries kind of we're going to be seeing more of these war leaders, like leaders that are more like military-esque taking over, right? Or even military-esque type of leaders being challenged by democratic leaders and things like this. It's going to be a big thing. So, just giving you guys some insight, things to look out for, now that we're moving into Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. But yeah, let me finish talking about Uranus and Taurus, okay? So Uranus and Taurus. Those of you that have Uranus in Aquarius, Uranus in Leo, or Uranus in Scorpio. Many of you, many of my clients, many of you do have Uranus in Scorpio. And those of you with Uranus in Scorpio, I do believe you were born in the late 70s, early 80s. So maybe like, I think it's like 78 to 79 to like 80 85, 84, 84, 85. Those of you that have Uranus and Scorpio, were, but those years. You're finishing your Uranus opposition. So if you do have Uranus and Scorpio, you're born in the late 70s, going to the early 80s, you're finishing your Uranus opposition. This means your midlife crisis is wrapping up. Okay, the Uranus opposition is our midlife crisis transit. That usually happens between the age of like 38 to 44, like around there. So those of you with Uranus in Scorpio, Uranus in Aquarius, Uranus in Leo, you are you're finishing up either a Uranus square or a Uranus opposition. So what this says is that if you've been feeling very stressed out, very anxious, you've been feeling the call to make like a big shift, to make a big change in your life, Uranus and Taurus until April will probably push you to do that. But if you are someone with Uranus in a fixed sign, Uranus and Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, this kind of your Uranus transit is also coming to a close. So you're finishing up your Uranus square or opposition, and or even if you're in your 80s and you have Uranus and Taurus and you're like my grandmother, she's almost done with her Uranus return, right? Keep in mind the next just be mindful of from now and into in the next 2 months and 3 weeks because you may see some radical shift or some radical change or you may feel that Uranus is going to push you. Uranus's final push for you to emancipate yourself from something, for you to make a dramatic change, for you to start something, for you to free yourself in some type of way, or for you to do something that really goes against others' expectations or goes against your own expectations or goes against the status quo in some type of way, okay? That energy is going to be in the air, especially with this week as Uranus goes direct. And also when we have our new moon in Aquarius or solar eclipse in Aquarius, that's going to be squaring Uranus, right? During, yeah, at the end of Aquarius season. Uh, so, but I'll talk about that again when we get there, okay? All right. So, let me look at let me go back to the current moment. So, the other thing that we have happening this week is Mercury goes into Pisces. This is really important. Mercury going into Pisces is important because Mercury is going to be co-present with the North Node. But what's also really interesting is Mercury is going to be retrograding in the sign of Pisces. And we are going to start to have this with Mercury retrograde in Pisces. This year, we're going to have Mercury retrograding in water signs, I believe. Let me just double check. Hold on. We're going to have Mercury retrograde in Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, I believe. Let me see. Yep. Mercury retrograde in Cancer. I'm looking at July 2nd. Mercury's retrograde in Cancer. And then we should see another one in November, October, November. There should be another Mercury retrograde. That's in Scorpio. Yeah. We're gonna have Mercury. So whenever it's so I don't know if you guys knew this, but Mercury, whenever he every year he retrogrades in different elements. So last year he was retrograding, I believe, in fire signs. Let me double check. I think he was retrograding in fire signs. I'm looking for Mercury. Oh yeah, it was fire signs. Yeah. So now this year, Mercury's retrograding in water signs. So we get with Mercury's ingress into Pisces this week, he's going to be having an extended stay there. So Mercury will be retrograding in Pisces um, during Aquarius season, I believe, like right at the end of Aquarius season, um, going into Pisces season. Let me double check. Let me see. And this is very important because you will be able to forecast or plan for your Mercury retrogrades based on your water houses. So if you are someone who is practicing astrology or you're learning astrology and you want to work more with your chart, you want to kind of forecast things for yourself, one of the things I'd highly recommend is taking a look at your water houses and planning or preparing or even looking at the times of when Mercury goes retrograde because it's going to be happening in all your water houses in your Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio house this week or this year. So this tells us that our Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio houses are going to be very, very busy this year. They're going to be a point of focus for Mercury. But why is this important? Because Mercury doesn't do well in water signs. And this, I want you guys to understand this. Mercury is fallen in the sign of Pisces. Mercury, he does all right in Cancer, but Mercury doesn't like to be in water signs. I think he does the best in Scorpio because I think Mercury and Mars energy work really well together. Like Mercury does really well in Scorpio, I believe. Not really well, but he does better, okay, in when he's in Scorpio. But I think Mercury and Pisces and Cancer can be a little tough or a little challenging because Mercury rules over an earth sign and an air sign, right? So Mercury, he has the energy of earth and air. He rules Virgo in Gemini. So when you put Mercury in a water sign, he's out of his element. So I do think that these Mercury retrogrades, including the Mercury retrograde in Pisces, that's right in the thick of eclipse season, I think they're going to be a little messy. I think they're going to be a little confusing, especially this Mercury retrograde in Pisces. I think there's going to be a lot of things around miscommunication and lost objects, lost jobs. I think there's going to be lost jobs. I also think there's going to be a lot of things around like scams and deception and people losing money and stuff like this, or even investments kind of like crashing and stuff, you know. I think the markets in general, like the financial markets with Mercury retrograding in water signs all year, are going to be really rough this year. I think they're going to be really, really rough. I think they're going to struggle and they're going to suffer because the water signs are, it's interesting. Water signs, right? They're typically associated with losses, financial losses in Vedic or Eastern astrology. So, and they don't the water element doesn't really do well when it comes to money and finances. Mercury and the water element don't, you know, Mercury, the merchant, the planet of business, right, doesn't really align with the water element, which is more about emotion and sentimentality and feeling. And I think this is one of the things that we see a lot with business and with business transactions is we remove the emotion out of it, right? Like you see this in corporate culture, you see this with work culture, right? It's like there's no emotion, there's no sensitivity, there's no compassion when it comes to like money and finances and business and things like this. And this really speaks to the fact that Mercury, the merchant, the planet of business, is ruled by, right, or is connected to the earth element and the air element, right? It's more about money and it's more about connection and communication and the transaction. It's not necessarily about emotion and feeling and sentimentality. So with Mercury retrograding in water signs, I do believe that this is going to be a year where, you know, jobs and business and like money and financial transactions are slower, they slow down, or they struggle in some type of way collectively. This is like going to be a community collective thing. Okay. So yeah, but yeah, Mercury is going to be having an extended stay in Pisces, but he does go into Pisces this week. We're actually going to be having our Mercury retrograde in Pisces. I'll let you guys know. It's right at the beginning of Pisces season, actually. Starts retrograding. Oh, and he starts retrograding at 22 degrees. Interesting. So Mercury retrograde starts on February 26th, which is right, like it's like a few days into Pisces season. So, you know, Mercury is going to be in Pisces for a very, very long time. So, whenever Mercury retrogrades, we add on 3 weeks onto his transit in that sign because Mercury takes 3 weeks to retrograde. So, he'll be retrograde for 3 weeks. So, Mercury is going to be in Pisces all the way until April. I'm looking at, yeah, until mid-April when he goes into Aries. And that's pretty much at the end of Aries season, right? So we're gonna have an extended stay. So your Pisces house is gonna be very, very busy. Your Pisces house is gonna be activated. We're also going to have a lunar eclipse in Pisces. After our solar eclipse in Aquarius. So it's gonna, yeah, your Pisces, Virgo houses, especially your Pisces house, is gonna be very active over the next couple months. Okay, so just pay attention to that. All right, take a look at what house you have Pisces in, because that's probably where you're gonna see some activity, and that's probably where you're gonna get some eclipse energy hitting, or you're gonna see eclipse energy manifest or show up in your Pisces house in some type of way. Okay. All right, let's get back to the astrology of the week, though. We are an hour in. We are an hour in. Okay, so let's start talking about the week. Second house, oh joy. Fifth house, your moon. So fifth house is going to be your children. Pisces rising, your first house, your body, your health. Second house, your money, your resources, your finances, how you make money, you know, your food, your diet, things like this. So these are things these are areas of your life that you want to look out for, okay? As we get closer to the eclipses. And I'll talk about this again, okay? I'm just giving y'all a little bit of insight about what's to come, okay? Give you some things to look forward to. So today it's February 2nd, 2026. Um, we have the moon wrapping up in Leo, and the moon's about to go into Virgo tomorrow. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then yeah, Thursday the moon goes into Libra. So we're gonna have the moon in Virgo Tuesday, Wednesday, but the moon's in Leo today. The reason why today is kind of important is because we're wrapping up our full moon in Leo. We're coming out of our full moon in Leo today, but the moon is actually separating from an opposition with Venus and Mercury. And Mercury is separating from Venus. So this is going to be a week as Mercury separates from Venus where there's kind of like a lot of conversation, a lot of communication, a lot of like relationship development, like development of romance, development of love, a lot of like new job opportunities or people looking for a new job. It's because Mercury and Venus have been moving together and these are benefic planets. But today, the moon opposite Mercury and Venus activates Mercury and Venus. The moon is trying to deliver something, right? The moon is trying to deliver something to some people, whether it be a message, whether it be a phone call, whether it be an opportunity, whether it be, a lover, Venus opposite the moon. The moon's trying to deliver something to people. And so one of the things I'm kind of getting as the moon goes into Virgo tomorrow and the moon and Mercury continues to separate from Venus, the moon is going to be in Mercury sign because Virgo is ruled by Mercury. The moon goes into Virgo, right? And it's going to be responding to Mercury separating from Venus. I do think we're going to see this week the initiation or the opening or the beginning of a lot of things. Okay. And people kind of like deciding that they want to commit to this new thing or that they want to explore this new thing or this new thing is very tantalizing and very exciting and so they want to explore it in some type of way. They want to, feel into it. But one of the things I will say is we're gonna have this Mercury retrograde in Pisces, right? Next month, and we're gonna have, and we have the nodes in Pisces and Virgo, the South Node of Virgo, and I do think we are going to be seeing more layoffs over the next 2 months, and we may even see it tomorrow with the moon conjoining the South Node as the moon goes into Virgo. There could be something very karmic around loss or around struggle. There could even be things around illness or sickness that people have to deal with or people have to confront with the moon in the south node tomorrow in Virgo. Okay. Definitely, this is a period that you really want to be on your P's and Q's when it comes to your health and your wellness and your self-care. You want to make sure you're taking, your vitamins, your minerals, and all this, only because people have been getting sick at this time. And it has a lot to do with the South Node in Virgo. Someone said 90K layoffs last week too. Yeah, it's gonna continue to be a big thing, unfortunately. We're going to be seeing a lot of layoffs, my loves, this eclipse season and Moon, South Node in Virgo. Some mutable people, it's really the mutable signs that have been dealing with the nodes in the South Node in Virgo. Like, so if you are someone, if you have a mutable sixth house, 12th house access, so if you have a mutable sign ruling your sixth house, or even if you're a mutable person, you have if you are a mutable rising sign, a mutable sun or a mutable moon, you need to be very mindful, especially if you have a job. You need to be paying attention and be very mindful of what's going on in the workplace, only because the energy with the nodes in Pisces and Virgo and Saturn wrapping up in Pisces, um, the energy can make you a little bit of a target. Okay, it can make you a little bit of a target, and you could be the one that's on the chopping block. Okay, so if you have the nodes impacting your sixth house, your 10th house, your second house in any way, shape, or form, like let's say you are a um, Leo rising or Aquarius rising, and you have Pisces and Virgo in your second house, eighth house access. Okay, um, you need to be mindful of what's going on at the workplace. Okay. Let's say you are a Aries rising or a Libra rising. You have Pisces and Virgo along the sixth house, 12th house axis. You as well can be, susceptible or you can become a target for the layoffs or you can get let go or something like this. Or there could be big changes that you're making with work and career, you know. Um, Yeah, I said Aquarius rising, Leo rising, and then the other one is going to be Sag and Gemini rising, right? Because you guys, well, actually, no, no, no. Yeah, Sag, Gemini rising. Yeah, because you guys have I said Libra, Aries rising, because you guys have Pisces and Virgo along the 10th house, fourth house axis. So if you have the signs of Pisces or Virgo impacting houses 2, 6, or 10 in any way, shape, or form, you need to be mindful. You need to be careful. okay? Because you are possibly going it's a possibility that you can get laid off, okay? Or even if the nodes are squaring you. So if you have or someone that has a lot of Sag Gemini placements, but the north node and the south node are they're squaring your Mercury or your Sun or something like this, you need to be very mindful, okay? And pay attention to what's going on because it's a possibility that you could end up getting laid off and stuff. But yeah, they're going to be coming up with solutions around this, though. I'm telling you this right now. The government is going to be coming up with some solutions for the whole work job issue thing going on. Um, and like Elon Musk said, universal income is going to be a thing. There's going to be like a universal stipend where people are just getting money every month to live from the government. It's going to be coming from the government, or it could even be sponsored by corporations. We may even see big corporations partaking in it in some type of way, But there's going to be like a universal income that's going to come in because the culture of work is dying, and the age of Aquarius is not going to have us working. Pluto going into Aquarius is not going to be about work. Pluto in Capricorn was about work, but Pluto in Aquarius is not going to have many of us working or the like current culture of like career work, 9 to 5 job, retirement, all of that is like evolving and changing. And we're going to see this dying off over the next 4 years. Someone said, when do you see this happening? Well, we're seeing the die off of like current work corporate culture. We're seeing that now, and it's going to continue to happen over the next 4 years. Because I do believe by 2030, um, the culture of work and what it means to be an employee, and even like the rules around being an employee are going to change. One of the things that I've been getting, one of the downloads I got was that we're not going to work indefinitely for jobs anymore or for companies anymore. We're going to have like termed contracts. So you're going to like, and employers are going to like petition or going to like fight for high value clients or for high value candidates. But there's going to be like termed contracts when it comes to jobs. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, you're going to get hired on for 2 years. You're going to get hired on for 1 year. You're going to get hired on for like a 6 month contract. And then at the end of that contract, it's going to be like up for renewal. Okay. And because it gives you an opportunity to kind of like pivot or make a change, or it gives the company an opportunity to like make a shift or make a change with the people that they're employing and stuff. But we're going to be seeing a lot of the return of like unions and workers' rights and, also people working for themselves and things like this, right? So, and more entrepreneurial activity or people working independently. It's going to be more of like a thing. And also people just getting into more creative, spiritual, intuitive, healing fields. Like people kind of going against the grain and doing something that's more about being of service to human beings. So, being a therapist, being a psychologist, being a counselor, things like this. These are the professions that are going to be growing, that are going to be expanding. Eventually, teaching is also going to become a big profession, or it's going to kind of like make its comeback in a way. So, yeah, we're just waiting for this current paradigm, this current culture, and this current thing to collapse, before we get into this new paradigm and what this new thing is going to be looking like. So yeah, the South Node goes into Virgo tomorrow and Tuesday. If you are a mutable person, if you're a Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag, what have the nodes been doing to you, right? To us, I'm a Pisces rising, so the eclipses have been throwing us for a loop. Many of us mutable signs, we've been feeling very confused. We've been feeling kind of like torn, and we want to. We've been like torn by a few different things. Like we're feeling pushed and pulled in different directions and stuff like this. And we're going to be getting clarity as when the nodes move out of Pisces and Virgo, and when Saturn's about to move out of Pisces. But I think the mutable signs just need to like they just need to steady themselves, and they just need to float and do what they can, right? But yeah, the South Node and Moon in Virgo tomorrow and Wednesday, being ruled by Mercury in Aquarius. We may see some things around work and jobs and employees and health and routines and stuff like this that are important, or things like this. It's a second sign away from our full moon. So when we're talking about, the moon the moon going into Virgo, which is the second house away from the full moon. We're talking about, second house, eighth house things. We're talking about resources. We're talking about the material world. We're talking about our savings account, our bank account. We're talking about trust, vulnerability, intimacy, closeness, right? Eighth house things because the second reflects into the eighth, right? So yeah, those are going to be all themes tomorrow and Wednesday with the moon in Virgo, okay, going past the south node. And then I do believe on Wednesday evening we have I believe our last moon in Virgo opposite Saturn transit. Yes. Our last one for a very long time is what I'll say. So the moon is going to oppose Saturn on Thursday, February 5th in the morning. We have a moon Saturn opposition. Someone said my stomach, everybody around me has digestive issues. What's that about? South Node in Virgo. Yeah. The stomach issues. And also your what was it? It was full moon in Leo. Stomach issues. I think it was the full moon in Leo with the Jupiter and Cancer in the 12th house. You know, full moon in Leo tends to make, well, this is also a Leo rising thing. Anybody a Leo rising here? Um, it's a Leo rising thing as well, but the full moon in Leo put Virgo in the south node in the second house of food and diet. Okay. And what happens is for Leo risings, this is a full moon in Leo thing. Our stomach gets very, very sensitive, especially to like hot and spicy foods, and especially to like sugar and also like oily foods because of the presence of the Virgo in the south node and the second house away from the full moon. So, maybe it's something I should have talked about yesterday. During this full moon cycle, we need to be eating smaller meals throughout the day. We need to be staying away from milk and dairy, especially because Jupiter's in the 12th house. So, milk and dairy can just hit you a little bit harder right now. It's really interesting because when it's cold, people crave ice cream. I don't know what that is, but I guess we're craving something sweet. And but yeah, it's the sensitivity. It's the stomach sensitivity with Virgo in the second. Virgo in the second house or the second place with the south node there from the sun. Also, the south node is connected to poisons, infections, bacteria, viruses, things that are small and toxic. Okay. Also, like chemicals, like chemical poisoning, food poisoning. That's a south node thing. So don't eat food that's been left out for 3 days. Don't eat food that's been in the refrigerator for 2 months and you don't know if it's bad or not. Okay. Like be very mindful of eating food that could have been possibly corrupted in some type of way, or if it's like toxic now, it's gone bad, it's been given time for bacteria to grow in it or something like this. Just be very mindful of this. Be very careful with this. Okay. It's actually really interesting because my best friend is a Leo rising, and she had a stomach bug 2 weeks ago. Yeah, to where she was bedridden for like a whole week and she couldn't leave the bed. And that was like 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, it's the South Node and Virgo things. You guys just got to be very mindful, be very careful about what you're eating and stuff. Okay. Very mindful. Smaller meals throughout the day. Stay away from the heavy fats, oily foods, dairy, excessive sugar if you can. Okay, if you can. Some of y'all got bad willpower, but yeah. All right. So then the moon goes into Libra. Oh, I was talking about the moon Saturn opposition. So the moon's gonna oppose Saturn on Thursday morning before it goes into Libra. In the moon Saturn opposition, this can be the final release, the final closing point, the final let go of something that you've emotionally invested in. or something that you've been like delusionally hoping for, like a bubble could be popped, and you could realize it on Thursday, like Wednesday night to Thursday morning. You could be like, you know what? I've been delusional. This is not even real. I've been lying to myself. I've been deceiving myself. Sorry, I want to fix my bracelet really quick. Give me a second. Um, And you could wake up to this truth or this reality with the moon opposite Saturn at 29 degrees. This is also 29-degree transit, which is about culmination and finality, right? And so with moon 29 degrees Virgo opposite Saturn 29 degrees Pisces, who's about to go into Aries, right? 2 weeks from now, there could be some really sad reality checks, or there could be some things around delusion where you're like, whoa, actually, that's what I thought it was is not what it was. You can wake up from a dream, right? You can wake up to a truth about something where your bubble gets popped and the reality of the situation sets in. So be very discerning this Thursday, Wednesday evening, this Thursday. Pay attention to what Saturn is trying to show you before he leaves Pisces and goes into Aries. Because there could be something that you just really finally got to karmically free yourself from, or that you got to release or let go of, or something that you got to finish. That's another thing I'm getting. There's something that maybe you got to finish or you got to complete before you can move on to the next chapter. This could also be about certain obligations or responsibilities when it comes to the workplace, when it comes to family. So there could be some kind of, you may have something that you got to do that you don't want to do Wednesday and Thursday, but Saturn is telling you, you got to do this thing. You got to have this conversation. You got to make this decision before you can move forward, before you can progress into your next life chapter, before this new thing can show up in your life or something. Okay. So I want you guys to pay attention to what's going on Wednesday night, Thursday, especially if you're a mutable person, if you are a Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag, because this is mainly for you guys. This is mainly for mutable signs. If you're a water sign, this could be a good thing though. So, we've had Jupiter in Cancer, we've had Saturn in Pisces, so, there could be a good thing. This could also be about for water and earth signs. This could be beneficial for earth signs too. This can be about like a long-standing commitment that you make, or even a long-standing commitment that someone wants to make with you, or even something coming in that's going to be here for a long time. That's something coming in that's going to be here, for 7 years, 14 years, 21 years, things like this. You know, Better late than never. Thank you for being here. Yeah, so that's gonna be Thursday, and then the moon goes into Libra. And what I love about the moon and Libra transit on Thursday, I think this is gonna be a very romantic weekend. I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday are gonna be sweet and kind, and people like going to the show, or people hanging out, or people, going on a date. Ah, Friday night, Saturday night. Who's going on a date on Friday night, Saturday night? As the moon is in Libra and Venus is trining the moon. We have Venus in Aquarius trining the moon in Libra on February 7th. And some man is going to go out with the prettiest woman he's ever been with. And some woman is going to be going out with a man who is the nerdiest and the weirdest and the strangest man that she's ever been with. But we're going to be having the moon in Libra making these beautiful trines to Aquarius energy. Starting Thursday morning, going through Friday and Saturday. So when the moon goes into Libra, the first trine or the first aspect that the moon's going to make on Thursday around afternoon, around 12 p.m., she said, if it better be take me on a date. I'm about to throw hands at him if he doesn't. Okay. She's like, you better take me on a she, you need to stop with your that seventh house Mars. You need to stop. Okay. She's like, threat, you better take me on a what did I say? You better take me on a date. Why are you like that? Who made you that way? I swear that's like a Capricorn Aries thing. That's a Capricorn Aries thing. It is. That's a Capricorn Aries thing. You better take me on a motherfucking date. you don't take me on a date, I'm gonna beat you. What is that? Where is that coming from? Like, it's given trauma. It's given it's given authority issues. It's given it's given power, like dominant things, issues that you got to work on. Okay. Capricorn Venus. Hell yeah. What do you mean? I'm tired of being a man. He loves it. He loves it here. So yeah, the moon in Libra, right? So the moon in Libra, the first opposition that the first aspect of the moon in Libra transit is gonna like starting Thursday. Thursday gets really busy. Okay. Thursday is really busy because the moon's going to be doing a lot while it's going through Libra. It's going to be aspecting a lot of planets with the trine, though. So I love the trine aspect. But the first aspect that the moon's going to make is an opposition to Neptune, who's at 0 degrees Aries. So for some people, the moon opposite Neptune on Thursday, and Neptune just went into Aries, right? So with Neptune and Aries, this can be about a new chapter in people's lives when it comes to love and partnership, but it can also be a new chapter in their life when it comes to their spirituality, their belief systems, when it comes to their identity, their sense of power, their sense of personal autonomy. Neptune is going to be kind of activating people and kind of leading people towards being embracing Aries energy in a Neptunian way. So being like spiritually independent, right? Being passionate, connecting to your passions, things like this. And we're going to start to feel this energy. We're going to start to really feel what Neptune and Aries is going to be about with the moon in Libra opposing Neptune and Aries on Thursday. This can be a moment of confusion or a moment of indecision. This can also be a moment of um, a moment of miscommunication in the realm of relationships and connections, okay? Also, if there's any sense of injustice or anything like this that you're feeling in between the space of you and someone else, that moon opposite Neptune can trigger or activate something where you want to address it or you want to, deal with it in some type of way. So just be mindful of that, okay? And then the moon, as it's progressing on Thursday, the first point of contact it makes is a trine to Pluto. So around like 6, 7 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday, the moon is going to trine Pluto. And the moon trine Pluto is about integration of depth and openness, and it's also about vulnerability in relationships and in connection and communication. So we might feel with moon opposite Neptune and then moon trine Pluto on Thursday, and then the moon's also going to, by the end of the day, the moon actually moves into a trine with Mars. We may feel very impassioned or very excited, or we may feel very possibly triggered, okay? Because we want to talk about something or address something. But because of the trine aspect, the moon trine Pluto, the moon trine Mars, this is good outcomes with those conversations or with those communications or with those experiences or things that we're able to overcome or things that we're able to kind of like find resolve with, okay? This is about, trines, what they do when we're experiencing trines in transit. They give us the opportunity to reharmonize things, to rebalance things, to get back into flow, right? And when the moon in Libra trining this Aquarius stellium, this can be about healing relationship stuff, healing your friendships, healing your partnerships, healing relationship stuff, and having very open dialogue, having very clear communication. I think that's why the Ace of Swords came out with the tarot spread for this week. The Ace of Swords upright, because to me, this is about clarity of thought, clarity of communication, clarity of decision making and choices. I do think the moon in Libra making this trine to all this Aquarius energy Thursday, Friday, Saturday is going to be bringing a lot of clarity for people. A lot of like where they're going to make a choice, they're going to make a decision, they're going to have a conversation that inspires them, that motivates them, or that heals something or that solves something. So I think it's very beneficial. But Moonshine Mars can make us very irritable or can, piss us off or we want to address something, we want to go in the attack or something like this. It is a trine, but it is a Mars Moon transit. Okay. So it's just something to be mindful of. But then on Friday, Friday is really a day of romance. Friday is really a beautiful, it feels warm, it feels kind, it feels sweet and sentimental. Friday. And this is because the moon is trine the sun on Friday, February 6th. And then the next transit that the moon is going to make is a trine with Venus. I think Friday can be very healing, but it can also be very, like, very sweet, very healing, very kind, but it can also be triggering in a way. And this is also kind of pigging back off of Thursday a little bit because on this day as well, the moon is going to oppose Chiron, and it's also going to be separating from a square with Jupiter and Cancer. So and Mercury goes into Pisces. So there's a lot that actually happens on Friday. Mercury's at 0 degrees Pisces. The moon is opposite Chiron, and the moon is trine the sun. So the moon in Libra is trining the sun in Aquarius. It's opposing Chiron in Aries, and it's also squaring Jupiter in Cancer. So the moon's doing a lot on Friday. The moon trine the sun, and then eventually the moon trining Venus going into Saturday is going to be really nice. It's going to feel very nice. It's going to feel very sweet. It's going to be very, cool, very aligned, very warm. And also the moon square Jupiter. But what's interesting with the moon opposite Chiron and moon square Jupiter, you know what I'm getting? I'm getting people having challenges or having conflict around their beliefs with others. So this can be you go out, let's say you go on a date on Friday and you like, let's say you're going with this guy or whatever, and he's a fucking MAGA. And you find out that he's a MAGA. He's like into guns and he loves Trump and all this. Well, guess what? That moon opposite Chiron, that moon square Jupiter, Chiron, Jupiter square, they're not, I mean, they're pretty separated from each other now because Jupiter's at 16 and Chiron's at 23. But this energy of the moon separating from a square at Jupiter, opposing Chiron, right? And then the moon trining the sun, we can feel very opinionated to be like, wait a minute, fuck that MAGA shit. Like that's not right. We can like, and all of a sudden, what was supposed to be a sweet, harmonious day is, an argument about beliefs, right? So I just want you guys to be very mindful of this because it is Jupiter in Cancer squaring the moon in Libra. And so this can also be about traditional beliefs or family beliefs or even emotional beliefs, okay? Beliefs that are based off of our feelings that we come into conflict with or that someone's beliefs and your beliefs, they like create some kind of tension or something like this, okay? I'm also getting, this is a weekend of rebellion and of protests and people walking out and things like this. We're going to be seeing a lot of this throughout the weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The moon's in Libra, trining all this Aquarius stellium. The moon is square Jupiter in Cancer. We're feeling very emotional. We're feeling very sensitive. And we're feeling sensitive about the things that we care for, the things that we got to protect, especially around our kids and our family and stuff like this, our land, our property, our home. These are things that are areas of sensitivity right now with Jupiter and Cancer. But the moon square Jupiter and the moon opposing Chiron on Friday can bring these things to the surface or can make this energy a very apparent physical thing in our reality, right? It could be something that we're like experiencing directly. So I just want you guys to be mindful of this, especially if you're a cardinal sign. If you are a Capricorn, Aries, Libra, or a Cancer, um, this can be a very monumental weekend for you. Thursday, Friday, Saturday could be very important for you, where there's some pivotal shifts, pivotal changes, pivotal conversations, something like this, okay, with the moon in Libra. But yeah, the moon in Libra, it's trining Pluto, Mars on Thursday, and then it trines the sun on Friday, and then it trines Venus. We have the moon trine Venus on Saturday, Saturday morning. And that is so sweet. That's beautiful. That's like hanging out with your friends, hanging out with your lover, hanging out with someone that you really care for. And Mercury's ingress into Pisces is going to have people feeling a lot more sentimental, a lot more emotional. I'm going to a Galentine's party Friday night, rebuking arguments on girls' night. Yeah, no arguing that night. Well, it would actually be more like arguing with men, possibly. Moon and Libra opposite Chiron and Aries, right? So weird situations with men. So that's something you just want to be mindful of. But yeah, it's gonna be a really beautiful weekend. It's gonna be very nice. Saturday is a great day to go to a festival, an art show, a museum. Saturday is a really good day to do something social and to do something that's like artistic or beautiful or creative in some type of way. It's a really, really good day to do that on Saturday. But like I was saying, with Mercury going into Pisces, our mind is moving into a very sentimental sign. The collective mind, Mercury, is moving into a very sentimental sign. A sign that's about affection and compassion. It's about, unconditional love and self-sacrifice and all these beautiful things Pisces is. So with Mercury going into Pisces on Saturday, the communication gets a lot more emotional. It's a lot more sentimental. It gets a lot more compassionate. And we're moving, communication is also something that can be a little bit more confusing. He's making up a date this weekend, so I love that this aligns. LOL, better spoil me. Yeah. I love that for you. He's making up for a date this weekend. Oh, I love that for you. Yeah, he's gonna spoil. It's gonna be a nice weekend. He's gonna take you somewhere nice. He's gonna treat you, take you somewhere good to eat, all those beautiful things. But yeah, so with Mercury and Pisces, I will say though, my loves, we're gonna see more job losses with Mercury and Pisces. uh, and Mercury in Pisces also puts communication in a very confusing place. So you may have to start saying things twice. You may have to repeat yourself, to clarify certain things because Mercury is going to a sign where he's mute. And what's so interesting is I actually did a reading for someone that I think they had a child with Mercury in Pisces. And their child was mute up until the age of like 6 or 7. And they started talking out of nowhere. um, and they had Mercury in Pisces. And Pisces, right, is the sign of silence. It's a sign of deafness, muteness. And a lot of times you'll see with people that are deaf or mute or people that have some kind of disability associated with their five senses in some type of way, you'll see 12th house placements and you'll see Pisces placements. You will, especially Mercury there, Mercury in a water sign and Mercury in Pisces, because Mercury's fallen in Pisces, right? So, um, things to keep in mind um, starting this Saturday as Mercury ingresses into Pisces, okay? But then what's so interesting is on Sunday, the moon goes into Scorpio. So, Saturday evening, going into Sunday, the moon goes into Scorpio, and now we have this moon trine Mercury, which is nice because this is about having deep emotional conversations and exchanges and, us feeling very, very deeply. Mercury and Pisces trining the moon in Scorpio, right? This is also about the integration of emotion and the processing of emotion and certain things that we've been carrying that we like release that shit and we let that shit go this weekend. So I do think that there's going to be a clearing up of emotional baggage this weekend for people with the moon going to Scorpio on Saturday evening going to Sunday. And I also think, but this is also kind of giving me us having deep conversations with the people that we love and us kind of talking about things of the past so that we can heal and move forward. So there's certain things that we need to get closure or clarity around. There's certain things that we got to talk about or bring up in communication, in connection, in our relationships, with our friendships and whatever, so that we can like grow and move past it and we can like let it go because we've been holding on to it for a lot of time, right? So when the moon goes into Scorpio, what the moon in Scorpio does, whatever we've been holding on to emotionally, whatever like bullshit we've been like that's been festering in our spirit and our heart and our emotional body, the moon in Scorpio pushes us and sometimes triggers us to release it. and to like address it and to like do something with it, right? Scorpio is a sign ruled by Mars. So Scorpio, right, is a sign when the moon is there that pushes us to take action around what we're feeling. So it's like it's not enough to feel it. We got to do something about it. And this is what the moon in Scorpio, and also when people have moon in Aries, people have moon in Scorpio, moon in Aries. Whenever they feel something, they need to do something about it. Mars, right? And they don't sit with their emotions for that long. Or even if they sit with that emotion, eventually they'll get towards anger and being pissed off and feeling like they need to do something about it. Or yeah, like yeah, it's usually they get the last emotion they arrive to is anger. Like the last thing they get to is they get mad about it and then they want to do something about it. Okay. So, and we may feel that this weekend. This weekend, there may be an emotional matter that we've been going back and forth with. There may be something that we've been sitting with in our heart and our spirit. And then the moon goes into Scorpio Saturday night and Sunday. And all of a sudden, we want to have that conversation. Moon, trine, Mercury, and Pisces. All of a sudden, we get triggered emotionally, or something happens. We're like, oh, we need to address this. We need to talk about this. Okay. Because when the moon goes into Scorpio on Saturday, the first aspect that the moon makes is a trine to Mercury, but then the second aspect it makes is a square to Pluto and Aquarius. Right? So it's funny because the moon in Libra was trining all this Aquarius energy, which is great, but the moon in Scorpio squares all the Aquarius energy, which makes it tough or difficult because the moon in Libra trining the Aquarius energy, it's like we can keep everything on the surface, right? Like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're going out, we're having fun, we're partying, we're looking good, we're hanging out with our friends, we're with our lover, we're going on the date, right? Everything is like good and peachy, and we're keeping everything very surface level because there's a lot of air energy in the air, right? But then Saturday evening, going to Sunday, the moon goes into Scorpio and Mercury is now in Pisces, and all of a sudden we get plunged into the realm of emotion and intensity and passion and intimacy and closeness and trust and vulnerability. These are all things, that the moon in Scorpio brings up. And so I think, if we are in serious relationships or if we are wanting to make a relationship serious, we may see the evolution of that or the activation of that this weekend in some type of way. Okay. But yeah, the moon goes into Scorpio on Saturday evening, going into Sunday. The moon's going to be in Scorpio. It trines Mercury first, and then it squares Pluto, and then the moon's going to be squaring Mars. And this can be a little bit of a challenging aspect. So I'm looking at around 5 p.m. on Sunday. The moon is at 12 degrees. Hold on, wait a minute. Oh, it's late. Yeah, it's actually later. Yeah, it's around 10 p.m. My bad. So I'm looking at the moon at 13 degrees, squaring Mars and Aquarius at 12 degrees on Sunday, February 8th. And this moon square Pluto or this moon square Mars can be a little bit challenging. It could be a little triggering. We can feel impassioned. This is also a very sexual energy as well, though. This is like sexy time, sexy energy. So, this weekend I think is going to be very passionate. I think it's going to be very fun for a lot of people, but I also think it's going to kind of stir up some issues or stir up some drama, especially Saturday night, Sunday because there's certain things that got to be addressed or worked through in the realm of like relationship and connection for people. Also, the moon in Scorpio is our waning square from our full moon in Leo. So the moon in Scorpio Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, February 8th, 9th, and 10th. Or actually, I think it's gonna be February 8th and 9th primarily. I think by the 10th the moon goes into Sag. Yeah, by the 10th the moon goes into Sag. Um, it's going to be bringing up things from our themes from our full moon in Leo. So, however, the full moon in Leo is meant to challenge you, is meant to make you move, is meant to show you things, reveal things. Well, the moon in Scorpio can be that activation or can be that experience or could be, the moon in Scorpio transit can trigger this defining lesson for you, this defining experience that is connected to the full moon in Leo for you, right? So, something to keep in mind as the moon is transiting Scorpio February 8th, 9th, February 8th and 9th. Um, the end of the seventh, so the last like 6 hours of the seventh, which is Saturday, and then the 8th, which is Sunday, and then the 9th, when the moon wraps up in Scorpio, that Monday. Okay, and that's where we pick up with the astrology of next week. So, um, yeah, but yeah, it is, the moon in Scorpio is our waning square from our full moon in Leo, so it is a trigger point and an activation point, and and the square between Scorpio and Leo, right? The square between Scorpio and Leo, Scorpio is about kind of like hiding and secrecy and intimacy and privacy, where Leo is about publicity and openness and sharing and being seen and celebrated. So there can be a tension that shows up within us, right? Or in a lived experience where there's certain things that, it's like the tension between publicity and privacy, you know, the tension between being seen or hiding, right? The tension between celebration and like truth and honesty, which is Leo, and like deception, secrecy, betrayal, Scorpio, right? So I just want you guys to be very aware of this energy, this conflict between Scorpio and Leo energy, but also Scorpio and Aquarius energy. That's going to be on Sunday. That really starts on Sunday. Someone said mine is in Pisces, 11th house. I felt silenced for up until now, damn near. Yeah, you have Mercury and Pisces, I'm assuming, right? You have Mercury and Pisces in the 11th house. I'm guessing that's what you mean. Hey, Anthony. So yeah, my loves. And that wraps up our astrology of the week. So, just a little recap. Uranus goes direct this week on Tuesday. Mercury moves into Pisces on Friday. We are moving through our full moon in Leo cycle. We have our Leo square. We have our full moon and we have our moon in Scorpio squaring the full moon in Leo from Saturday to Sunday. The moon's going to be on in Libra Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, trining Aquarius. So it's beautiful time for social connection, for going out on a date, for going to a museum, for talking, exchanging ideas. The moon's going to be in Virgo starting later on today, and Tuesday and Wednesday with the South Node. So this can be challenges with health. This can be about job losses. This can also be about work or needing to get your daily routines, your health together, and things like this. We do have Mercury separating from Venus. So one of the things I was seeing even last week and this week is a lot of new opportunities, a lot of new beginnings, like people going in new directions and stuff like this. Okay. We are preparing for Saturn to leave Pisces and go into Aries on February, I believe, 14th, 15th, or was it the 17th I said? I think it was the 17th. Was it the 17th? 14th. Oh no 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 no. It's the 13th to the 14th. Yeah. So we're preparing for Saturn to go into Aries next week, and that's going to be a really big thing this month. That's a really really big one this month. Is Saturn ingressing into Aries. And those of you at Saturn and Aries, guess what? You're starting, well, you've already kind of started your Saturn return, but you're going to be like really starting your Saturn return if you have Saturn and Aries. And if you have Saturn in a cardinal sign, Capricorn, Libra, or Cancer, guess what, my love? It's time for you to have your quarter life crisis, your midlife crisis, your, quarter life crisis, something like this. Yeah. Time for you to get yourself into shape. For many of you at Saturn Aries, I one of the big things is getting strong in the body and like really working on your muscles and your muscle mass and your Mars energy. I think those of you at Saturn Aries, I think it's good for you guys to stay active and move your bodies. I think that's a way that you can appease Saturn, like building muscle and stuff like this. So that Saturn doesn't drag you or Saturn doesn't make your life hard or difficult. Saturn and Scorpio, I'm turning 43 in March and I'm having a baby in the same week. Oh, congratulations. I love that for you. Thoughts on Saturn square moon transit? I thought I was out of the woods, it's Sag rising, but yeah, Saturn square the moon is very depressive, it's very sad. If you have Saturn squaring a late degree mutable moon right now. It is, which there's a few people that I know that have late degree mutable moons, and Saturn is squaring it or opposing it or sitting on it if you have a Pisces moon, is very difficult. It has a lot to do with emotional congestion and has a lot to do with also emotional rejection or sadness. Sometimes Saturn aspecting the moon in transit, like when Saturn is conjoining your moon, going through your moon, opposite, opposing your moon, and squaring your moon. This can also be about difficulties with living situations, losses when it comes to living situations, and also sad things with the family, especially with the mom. So, sometimes a moon Saturn transit can actually bring a health crisis that mom goes through, or the passing away of women. That's another really big one, is like, especially elderly women in the family passing away. That can be like a moon Saturn opposition or a moon Saturn square. In general, though, our sense of peace and joy and contentment and just like being like at peace is going to be challenged. We're not going to feel very peaceful when Moon is opposing Saturn when you transit Saturn is opposing or squaring or conjoining your Moon. You're typically going to feel more depressed or more sad. Oh, you lost your great aunt last week. Is this the same? This is the same person. I've moved 27 times. I'm 29, Pisces moon here. Yeah, that's the thing. When you have a mutable moon, a lot of times the mutable moon creates instability around living situations. So I know a lot of mutable moons. I know a lot of mutable moons, like Gemini moon, Sag moon, Pisces moon, um, that will only live in places for like 3 months, 3 years. Um, 3 weeks, where they won't stay because it's the mutable, it's the restless mutable energy that gets them to like move and relocate and like make a big change, all the time and stuff like that. Angela, I'm adding Pookie Pie to my vocabulary. That's really cute. That's funny. But yeah, Saturn square the moon can be really challenging, can be a little difficult. I know people that I have clients and also friends that are going through that right now, and they are many of them are wanting to make a big change with the living situation because they've been in a living situation that they're not happy with, and many of them are also reconsidering a lot of the things that they've emotionally invested in, and they're like, wait a minute, like, this thing that I feel so emotionally connected to, is it really good for me? Is it really healthy for me? you know Ways to mitigate it, to try to mitigate. You need to like travel and go out and like move. Like moving your body is very important. Getting sun is really important. Um, when you have like a moon Saturn transit. Sometimes you just need to grieve. Also, the moon Saturn can also be about grief and sadness and loneliness. And sometimes it's just sitting with it, sitting with the emotion, sitting with the grief, sitting with the loss, whatever it is that you're going through. Because the thing that's when Saturn aspects your moon, right, in transit, Saturn wakes you up to the truth of what's going on around emotions and around like affections and around like your deeper inner world, right? And sometimes when Saturn holds up that mirror to our moon, okay, what we end up finding in there are things that we do not like, or things that are very sad or very difficult, or things that we have to confront that we've been avoiding. And so I think, you know, it's best to just be patient and as you're moving through the transit, but it's also best to really honor whatever's coming up for you emotionally, spiritually, with family and stuff, with ancestry of the past. These are all things connected to the moon. It's really important to confront these things and to like work through them when you're going through a moon Saturn transit, because coming out of it, you come out so much more mature. You come out stronger, you come out more resilient, and you also come out wiser. So one of the beautiful things about Saturn is he gives you wisdom through experiences. So, it's like you only would have learned that thing or you only would have realized that thing if you had gone through it, right? Or if you went through it. Like if you had not gone through that thing, then you wouldn't have become wiser. You wouldn't have learned that lesson that you had to learn, right? So, a lot of times, we integrate those lessons with Moon Saturn transits. We integrate the lessons of Saturn and the hard, difficult emotional lessons, because Moon Saturn transits are always tough on us emotionally. Always, 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 always. Not always, but most of the time. Yeah, most of the time they tend to be really tough on us emotionally. All right, my loves. Oh my God, look, she said, babe, I'm an eighth house stellium. That grief is never leaving. At least it stayed longer than my daddy. Oh no. Someone said, been working too much, not moving like usually. Might meet you in Brazil for real. Oh, I love that. Yeah, if you guys make friends with each other in like the group chat and stuff, make sure you guys add each other and things, okay? Um, oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm just reading the comments. Okay, beautiful people. Enjoy your beautiful day. Have a good one. I'll see you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and post this right away. And I'll also go ahead and post this on YouTube for those of you guys that want to go back and watch it. Okay. But thank you so much for spending time with me today. Um, we are moving through this Aquarius energy. We have Valentine's Day coming up, and we have Saturn about to move into Aries. So, many people are in transition right now, and they're about to start a new timeline, but they're on the precipice of that new timeline starting. So, don't no pressure, okay? If you're feeling the change, but you don't know what to change or where to go with it, don't worry about it, okay? Just be present with yourself, stay grounded, take care of yourself, really make sure you're taking care of your health and your body. You want to make sure those, your foundation is good, your self-care routines and all that. And just be patient because that you will know when the time is right. You will know when it's time to go. You'll know when it's time to start that thing or to make that big change. Okay. All right, my loves, have a blessed day. Thank you for being here and spending time with me. I appreciate you all so much. I will see you guys when I see you guys. I'll see you guys on Instagram. Okay. um yeah, I'll see you guys on Instagram. Have a beautiful day. Take care. Be true to yourself. Be kind. Be nice. Okay. I'll see you. Bye.